49ers added some draft picks today, and they didn't even have to trade anybody. Jimmy Garoppolo, still a 49er. Another star quarterback rumored to be interested. And is there mutual interest in the 49ers in a quarterback? As bizarre as that all seems, Niners lose DJ Jones, but add Charvarius Ward. All that coming up on this Winky Wednesday episode of Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen, your team every day. And you know the drill. This is, if you're watching on YouTube, you might be catching this on Tuesday evening, but this is the Winky Wednesday episode for those of you getting it out early in the morning. For those of you on your way to work, I know a lot of you like to listen that way, so you know what it means. It's Wednesday. That means it's Winky Wednesday. Let's bring on today's guest.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down. The Wink is on fire.
Wink, what are your thoughts? Oren Burks, go.
Orange Burks?
Oren Burks, the latest signing by your San Francisco 49ers.
They're talking about Birkenstocks. I'm like, just don't wear socks with them. That's fine.
Delta Burke, your thoughts?
Perfect. The best designing woman.
Yeah. The most designerish woman of the designing women. The Oren Burks is a special teams demon, 49ers linebacker. That is not the big signing, though, of day one of the tampering period. A little bit of a shocker late in the day was Charvarius Ward. He is a former cornerback of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he is a San Francisco 49er. DJ Jones on his way out. He got a really big deal. Bigger deal than I expected, actually, as did Laken Tomlinson and pretty much as did Charvarius Ward. So pretty much everybody getting on day one too much money. So we'll talk through all this stuff, and I can see why the 49ers didn't want to match on Laken Tomlinson, a guard. Sure. I can see why the 49ers didn't want to match on a two-down player like DJ Jones, who signed a really big deal with the Denver Broncos, who are obviously going all in, and there's an arms race going on in the AFC West right now. What's your overall feeling, though, from the first day and a half here? We're getting in late into Tuesday, and we don't have a Jimmy Garoppolo trade, but there's some other rumors and stuff that we'll get to. But Wink, just your overall vibe. How you feeling right now about the start to the 49ers offseason?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to see Laken go. You know, he's been a solid starter there at left guard now for a few years, and it's been solid. And you can't pay a guard that much when you're already playing your left tackle a ton of money. DJ Jones, also, you know me, I've always been a DJ Jones guy, so that was hard to see as well. But again, he got paid huge. And with Ward, like, you know, I've seen the sign. I'm like, okay, cool. So I start looking some stuff up. I'm like, oh, lowest completion percentage against. Like, that's great, blah, blah. But I'm sure like a lot of listeners out there, my initial reaction as soon as I saw it was like, I can't wait to hear what Croc has to say about this guy.
The floor is yours. What is the scouting report on Charvarius Ward? Because we had talked about this. It was rumored the 49ers were interested on Charvarius Ward. And we both looked at it as like, okay, good player, but
how much does it move the needle?
How much does it move the needle? Do you want to push back your second-year cornerback in Ambry Thomas to bring in a CB2 to play over him? What's really remarkable about Charvarius Ward is how similar his entry into the NFL, how similar his career path is, and some of the measurable stuff even as well to the 49ers' other starting cornerback now in Emmanuel Mosley. Both were undrafted in 2018. Both had really good workouts at their pro days and threw down some times, and both earned starting jobs. And I think Charvarius Ward earned a lot of money. Does that affect how much money the 49ers can pay Emmanuel Mosley? But when I first saw the Charvarius got a number 2 corner. Then I saw the money and I thought, whoa, wait a second here. They're paying him to be more than just a regular old number 2 corner, right, Croc? So when you put on your scouting goggles and you watch Charvarius Ward, do you see more than a number 2? Do you see a number 1 corner?
Okay, so yeah, on film, him and Mosley are very comparable in their, movement skills, their ability to be, aggressive at the catch point. I think one thing is pretty clear in this Charvarius Charvarius Ward. I'm thinking of like Charvarius
This-
Moore,
Yeah.
this is
Charvarius
really
McFadden,
Yep.
and then like
the
it's like all these
49ers, yeah.
Charvarius. All right, they're screwing me
The
up. But
49ers already
Charvarius
have
Ward,
a Charvarius, and they already have a
Mhm.
Ward. So now you got
Yeah.
Charvarius, you got Jimmy Ward, and then you got Charvarius Ward. So that's just really confusing with that
yeah,
start.
it throws everything off. But he does really good work at the line of scrimmage and press. And I was very impressed with how he, is able to move. I feel like he's pretty fluid of an athlete because he looks longer. And I was thinking that he was going to be this long moving guy, but moved very well. I thought his feet were good. Thought he was really aggressive at the line of scrimmage. I thought he was a willing tackler. There were some, assignment things I saw kind of pop up, like, lack of crack replace type things where, he didn't shoot quick enough. But overall, I walked away saying, you know what? This is a good football player. Now, he's making a lot of money. So when you're making, $13 million, which is kind of like top 15-ish for cornerbacks in the NFL, what are the responsibilities are they going to put on them? So I have kind of a couple ways of looking at this here. One, if they are asking him to be a man press type guy and you're going to put the responsibility on him to shadow guys around, I love it. Like, good pick. I think he has that type of ability to guard guys like DK Metcalf or DeAndre Hopkins. But if you are going to play him similarly to what we've seen the 49ers do over the last year with guys like Ambry Thomas, who I thought was more of a press man guy, and it's like, no, I know you're a press man guy, but we're going to ask you to play off, and we're just going to keep you to one side. If they do that with Ward, then I don't like to sign it because I don't think that's a strength of his. I didn't think it was a strength of Ambry Thomas. So, and then again, if you are going to go out and pay a bunch of money, how much does he move the needle? And you look at the 49ers, and, I look at it, how are they had the 6th best pass defense in the league. Not saying that the corners are the reason for that, but overall, that was the results. They had a top 10 scoring defense in the league. 49ers in the playoffs gave up 47 combined points. 47 combined points playing against 3 powerhouses.
3 games.
So how much better does the $14 million quarterback or cornerback make the 49ers in that sense? Or is he going to take them from, hey, you played the Cowboys, Packers, and the Rams, you gave up 47 total points. But you know what? This signing is so big. Now, instead of giving up 47, you're going to give up 35, right, in those 3 games. If he has that type of impact, then great. But I think overall, a lot of people are looking at these individual statistics. Cooper Kupp, he had 140 yards, whatever. Well, Cooper Kupp had 140 yards on everybody. The 49ers gave up a touchdown to, Jamar Chase. Well, Jamar Chase scored on everybody. Matter of fact, Jamar Chase scored on Charvarius Ward, and he got dunked on. And Ambry Thomas gave up a 3rd and 20 play. Well, Charvarius Ward did too. To Jamar. So how much more does he move the needle? I think he's good. I think he looks more comfortable and in sync than Ambry Thomas. A little bit more similar to Emmanuel Mosley. Maybe slightly better impressed, maybe. But how much more does it move the needle off what the 49ers gave you overall from the defense? That's what I'm going to see, like, how much of an impact. And if he's not shadowing guys and he's not playing man press, I don't know if he's going to have the impact that a lot of people are expecting. But I do think he's a better football player than those guys.
Yeah, the question is he $13-14 million a year better than Ambry Thomas, who's going to go into his 2nd year, who maybe had earned himself the right to at least compete for a starting job, and he's probably not going to get that opportunity.
Real quick, his advanced stats are top in the league. I would guess that there is nobody in the NFL better than what I saw from his advanced stats.
Yeah, Wink referenced that a little bit ago. So this one from Michelle Madzuk, who relayed some information from Pro Football Focus about the lowest completion percentages allowed in coverage since 2019. So that's covering 3 seasons, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Charvarius Ward is number 1 in the league, the only guy allowing less than 50% completion percentage when he is the closest coverage player to the player who caught the ball, 49.8%. Number 2, J.C. Jackson, 51.7%. Number 3, Casey Hayward, then Jair Alexander, then Denzel Ward. And that's with cornerbacks with at least 150 plus targets in coverage since 2019. So yeah, the statistics like him, he does have a lot of ability. He's fast. He's got some size. He is competitive. So all of those are very good things. Does it come together in a player that's worth the money that the 49ers spent? That'll be the big question coming up. And look, I saw the deal that J.C. Jackson got and thought, man, if you're going to pay that much for Ward, right, Wink? Why not go the extra $2.5 million and go to the top of the market and get J.C. Jackson? Or do the 49ers get a player that's going to be just as good, who's a lot younger than Stephon Gilmore, who hasn't signed yet? So they get the best of both worlds, get a really good player who's also younger, and they can they have a good starting cornerback for a long time.
Peacock, hold on. You know what you just did? You just did the Built Bar thing. You know, they talk about it being a protein bar, and they compare it to protein bars, and then all of a sudden they flip it and they compare it to a candy bar. Right, and that's what you just did. You're comparing Ward to J.C. Jackson, and then all of a sudden you somehow work in Stephon Gilmore into there.
Oh, wait a second. So what you're saying is Charvarius Ward is the Built Bars of cornerbacks?
No, I'm just saying that's how you.
Oh, well, hey,
I guess he could be.
I'm all about it. Hold on. Let's pause on that because I'm all about it if Charvarius Ward is the Built Bar of cornerbacks. Built Bars are low in calorie. Built Bars are low in sugar, low in net carbs, and high in protein. So they keep you satisfied, and they're covered in 100% delicious chocolate, as is Charvarius Ward. 17 grams of protein to keep you powered through your day. Have you tried Built Bar Puffs yet? They're fantastic. The first ever protein-infused marshmallow churro puffs. There's banana cream pie. There's coconut marshmallow. There's key lime pie flavors of Built Bar. There's the new shamrock flavor of Built Bar at Built.com. And yeah, you're right, Croc. Why go for that candy bar that's 200 to 300 calories when you could reach for a Built Bar and not have to spend all those calories, the $16.5 million per calories per year, right? You go for the better for you solution, the better,
healthier,
better for your body, the more satisfying solution. That is why Built Bar is the Charvarius Ward of protein bars. And you can go get yourself a box of Charvarius Wards at built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. By the way, thanks everybody for making Locked On 49ers your first listen every day. Make sure you're following Locked On NFL, Locked On Experts, covering the biggest stories around the league every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. And it's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like this very program is. So, Wink, knowing that Charvarius Ward is the Built Bar of cornerbacks in the NFL, would it have been worth to reach for that candy bar and spend a few more calories to go get someone like J.C. Jackson on the market, who didn't go for that much more than Charvarius Ward did, and to most people was the top corner in the market?
I think it's just like you said, man, with the Built Bar. Like, don't go for those empty calories, right? Or the fancy, flashy J.C. Jackson. Like, there's nothing wrong with Charvarius Ward. Like, he's a solid cornerback. I think that it is kind of a classic overreaction pay by the 49ers. You know, you look at how many guys started at cornerback for the 49ers last year, and it was a lot. I mean, Josh Norman played a ton. You talk about Built Bar and candy bars. Where's Josh Norman on that scale, right? I mean, yeah, he's definitely well below all of those things. So I think that the 49ers saw an area. Yeah, you mentioned it, Croc. They had the 6th ranked defense. Like, that's pass defense. That's awesome. That's fantastic. But that was definitely an area where they can improve. Was it worth that much money? You know, when you let some of your key players
how
walk?
Much of an improvement will it be? Like, will it take you?
Points.
Will getting Ward take you from 6 pass defense, even if you're like, hey, 49ers were pass rush dependent. The corners weren't the reason why they were 6th best pass defense.
Right.
So, you know, you can always improve, and you can. So is Ward going to take them from the 6th best pass defense statistically to a top 3 pass defense statistically? And if you
mentioned the points.
Yeah,
and in the playoffs, it's 47 points. I mean, if it's 4 less points in that NFC Championship games, the 49ers are in the Super Bowl, you know? So it's like, it's the little things. It's one play that could have changed that entire game. I mean, we know it's the dropped interception, right? But there are other plays throughout that game that maybe he is the difference maker. I mean, I'm not at all trying to say that this is a slam dunk signing by the 49ers, because that's a lot of money to give up, especially when you're still sitting on that Jimmy G contract. But, you know, I think that it definitely addressed an area of need. But it definitely was a lot of money too. I think the 49ers just kind of felt they needed to go get someone and get someone solid who stays healthy and stays on the field. And that is definitely something Ward does too.
Yeah, and if the 49ers have two starters that are very similar to what Emmanuel Mosley's already given you on one side, that's pretty good because I like Emmanuel Mosley a lot. He's a really good player. Now I worry about being able to afford him and pay him because you know what contract he's going to be comparing himself to when he becomes a free agent after this season. So can the 49ers do those things? And I didn't like that this deal. The reason I thought Gilmore was the best fit is just because how good he is, how good he's still playing at this point, and it would maybe be a cheaper, shorter contract. You're going into the 2024 area with this contract with Charvarius Ward. You got a lot of other things you got to do on the roster. So the length of the contract worries me. The price of the contract worries me a little bit too. Croc, the question then to you is, and you've watched all these guys because you expected the 49ers. They've been rumored to be involved, talking to J.C. Jackson, talking to Stephon Gilmore, and talking to Charvarius Ward. How much better, or are they better, J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore? Is there a clear tier for you for where those guys are? So for basically what I'm saying is if Stephon Gilmore shows up and signs a contract that's cheaper and shorter, should the 49ers have gone that route and ended up with a better player potentially?
I don't know. You look at Ward and what the Chiefs asked of him. It sounds like they asked him to guard a lot of number one wide receivers and kind of follow them around. I think that's excellent. Now, I think where you kind of screw up here is if the 49ers pay him this money and don't put that type of responsibility on them, I think that's when it would be an overpay and whatnot. Or maybe you could look at a J.C. Jackson who can do some shadowing, but even if he stays on one side, well, all right, we know he's going to impact the game. I mean, how many interceptions has he had over the last 5 years? I mean, it's a ton. So, Ward hasn't been someone to take the ball away a whole lot. He has 4 interceptions in 4 years. I'm not saying interceptions make you good, but I'm just saying in the sense of being able to show your value. You got to be able to show it some way. So either with locking down wide receiver ones or shadowing those guys and making life difficult on them, even if they give up catches, but making life difficult on them, or taking the ball away, which a guy like J.C. Jackson does both.
Did you see enough ball skills with Ward, or did you see something there where it's like, okay, that's why he's not picking the ball off, because he doesn't have that sixth sense about him. He doesn't have that break on the ball maybe, or he doesn't have the ball skills, or when he's in zone coverage, he doesn't see something coming before it happens, that type of thing. The thing you see with Richard Sherman when he was in zone coverage, but he's still running routes for guys and he's still going into the spots where he knows guys are going, which is where he got a lot of his interceptions. Did you see something missing with Ward for the reason that he's not getting those interceptions? Because that's something that's already been going on for a while with the 49ers, not being able to take the ball away in the secondary.
I think the more man coverage you play, the harder it is to actually get interceptions, because a lot of times the ball jumps up on you. So that's why it's even more impressive with a guy like J.C. Jackson, who picks off as many passes as he does, because it's hard to be great in man coverage without cheating and still get interceptions, which J.C. Jackson doesn't do. Now, Trevon Diggs does. He gets a lot of interceptions. He can be in man coverage, but he cheats a whole lot. So he also gets beat. So a lot of times you have to take the good with the bad, like Cowboys have done with Diggs. J.C. Jackson, you get the good with the good. Ward, you get the good with him making life difficult on receivers, but you don't get that ultimate payoff with the interception. So, and again, comes down to how the 49ers going to utilize him. That's going to be the big thing to tell me how impactful this whole thing will be. I don't want to see him playing off coverage all the time. I don't want to see, DK go to the left side, go to the right side, and you don't have Ward going with him if this is your best corner on the roster.
That's a really good point. You're paying him to do something pretty serious for your defense. So if you're not having him travel, he better be shutting down one side of the field. If you do ask him to travel and he can't hang with those guys and he's not able to do a number and really limit some wide receivers, then why are you paying him all that money again too? So we'll see. Was this a bargain signing for the 49ers if they have a true CB1 in Charvarius Ward and maybe we're sleeping on him a little bit? Or did the 49ers overpay because that's what you have to do on day one of free agency? If you want to get one of those early free agents, did they panic a little bit and give more money than was necessary to go get themselves a starting cornerback? So we'll find out the answers to all of those things very soon. Last one, guys. What do you think the plan is with nickel corner, and was part of signing Ward being that in nickel packages, which is a lot of it's more than half of the packages on the field, you still have Ambry Thomas on the field. He comes in, plays on the outside. Maybe they're looking at Emmanuel Mosley as the guy who goes from outside corner to nickel in those situations. Do you think that is a reason the Niners really wanted to go get a starting caliber corner, more so than just completely replacing the second-year guy in Ambry Thomas?
Definitely. I can definitely see that. A lot of people forget Emmanuel Mosley, when he first showed up on the scene, he did play a lot of nickel. his first preseason, it was him on the outside starting off with that like second unit or third unit or whatever. But preseason games, you go back and watch it now, you'll see him playing on the outside. And when they went to nickel, he went into the nickel and played in the slot. Matter of fact, y'all might remember, may not, against Houston Texans, he actually got an interception on that tip pass, bounced to him, and I mean, he was striking across the field, sprinting. I was like, man, this kid's nice. He moves well. All right, he played a lot of nickel. The following year in the preseason against Dallas Cowboys, go watch that first game. I mean, did a terrific job playing in the nickel. So much so that I was like, 49ers should probably cut K'Waun Williams and play this Emmanuel Mosley kid as your full-time nickel. So he definitely has the ability. Obviously, he's made his niche with the 49ers being an outside cornerback. But if they want to do what the Denver Broncos did a few years back, where Denver had Akeem Talib, Chris Harris Jr., that was their base starting guys on the outside. Then when they went to nickel, Harris went into the nickel. Roby came in and played outside corner. I could potentially see the 49ers doing something like that while they kind of figure out what's going on with either Ambry Thomas is going to take control of the outside, in that type of unit, or Diamador Lenore take that next step. He's able to play in the slot, and then the 49ers could just keep Mosley outside. So they will have options depending on how their younger guys develop.
Wink, I feel a lot better about the Charvarius Ward signing, especially when I first saw it. I was like, Ward, okay. I saw the money. I was like, whoa, wait a second. But Croc makes me feel a little bit better about it, and we'll see. I'm a little skeptical still. I just, it's just hard. You overpay on the first day of free agency. It's the way it goes. But do you feel better now? And what do you think about the 49ers' new look secondary? If they were able to sort of kill two birds with one stone and get themselves sort of an outside starter and a nickel at the same time by bringing him in, does that make more sense on your end?
Yeah, of course. I mean, depth, right? I went over it when how many different corners started, for the 49ers last year. So bringing in a guy like this makes a whole lot of sense, especially like you said, Croc, if he can be that shadow guy, if he can follow around number ones, because they play Seattle twice, they play the Rams twice, they play, the Cardinals twice, and they all have really good wide receivers, especially really good number one wide receivers. So if he can be that guy, that's great. You move Mosley in, like you said, maybe Lenore takes a step up. You got to hope that they do, right? That's why you invested draft picks in these young guys, is you hope that they take that next step and they're ready to go. And here's a whole nother season they had under, playing in the NFL. And now here comes season 2. Hopefully they put in the work in the off season and they're ready to go.
All right. We got to talk a little bit about the quarterback weirdness that, to be honest, just gets weirder every single day. And there's a new story popping up every single day. So we'll cover that. Is there some interest with the 49ers and Deshaun Watson? We got to talk a little bit more about DJ Jones leaving the 49ers, and the Niners added some compensatory selections coming up next. I just want to read off what we're talking about athletically, because it's pretty amazing that a corner that played at a high level in college and that had these workout numbers went undrafted. And both the starting corners for the Niners this year, Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward, fit that. I mean, it's crazy. Ward was really good, and people knew about Charvarius Ward. Didn't get invited to the combine out of Middle Tennessee State. Is it Middle Tennessee or Middle Tennessee State? I always forget.
There's both.
There's two. Okay, so he went to Middle Tennessee. And he's 6 feet and 5/8, so a little under 6'1", 198 pounds. This is him coming out of the combine, or at his pro day coming into the draft. Ran a 4.44. He had a 37.5-inch vertical, 11-foot broad jump, which is really good. His agilities weren't that great, but I've seen his agility look okay for a lengthy corner. 32.5-inch arms, which is a good arm length for a cornerback. So really, he hits a lot of he checks off a lot of boxes as far as what you're looking for an outside cornerback athletically. So I like that about him, that he checks off the boxes athletically as well as, has some good tape out there. And he's a competitive player. So you put all those things together, and that's a good combination. What's funny is it's the same combination that Emmanuel Mosley showed. And he was also undrafted and also no combine workout at day, though, in 2018. He was the same week as Charvarius Ward's pro day. He ran a 4.42, a little shorter, 5'11", a little over 5'11". So he's about an inch and a half shorter than Charvarius Ward. 4.42 speed, blazed in his agility drills, 6.84 seconds in the 3-cone, 4.03 in his 20-yard shuttle, and a 38.5-inch vertical. So high-level athleticism at the pro day for for Emmanuel Mosley. And they're both scrappy, which I do like. I do like that about Ward, and I love that about Mosley too. Even Mosley being a little smaller player, I think it helps him play up a little bigger because he's not the biggest guy, 190 pounds, 5'11". So, yeah, two scrappy guys that had to fight their way from undrafted to being starting corners in the NFL, both starting for the 49ers now in 2022. I have a big question when it comes with DJ Jones. First of all, we ended the last podcast. My prediction was, Croc, and I think this is only on the live stream part of the pod last night after day one of the tampering stuff. And I thought, oh, DJ Jones didn't get hit with one of these big deals early. I think he's going to come back on a cheaper deal, and the Niners have a better shot than I thought to bring him back. And all of a sudden, you see, what, $10 million a year for a nose tackle? There's some crazy money getting thrown out there. So overall, like, I can't blame. Like, do you have bad feelings about letting those guys go get their money, right? Or do you think the 49ers should have gone to $14 million a year on Laken Tomlinson, $10 million a year on DJ Jones, or did they do the right thing bowing out? Because I think they did the right thing.
I think they did the right thing. I mean, with DJ Jones, again, now he's a good football player. I don't want to act like one of those guys where, you know, he leaves the team that you're covering or your favorite team and it's like, oh, didn't need him anyways. No, terrific football player. But, you know, we'll see what happens with Javon Kinlaw. That's definitely a guy I think you would hope can come in and play, be that two-down guy in the middle there. Also, you know, bringing back Mo Hurst, you know, guys like that. Bring back Kevin Givens, guys like that. I think they definitely have enough guys to kind of fill in that void of someone who can be a two-down rusher from the interior.
Yeah, I think it's the Laken one's a little bit bigger because, you know, yeah, they signed Aaron Banks, but it's like, who knows what's going to happen there? They invested a high draft pick in that kid, and hopefully he figures it out, because that's what you want to have happen, right? You have the big guy leave for a bunch of money, and then, okay, we got this guy coming in his second year, second round draft pick. Like, he's going to be fine. Let's put him in. Let's plug and play, and fingers crossed, right?
That's such a big part of 2022 right now. And we'll see what else the 49ers do. They still have a draft and a lot of free agency to go. But when you look at what the 49ers have spent in the draft at those positions, you've got Javon Kinlaw, first round pick, who's been a disappointment, been injured a lot. Aaron Banks, who looked like didn't have a good rookie season at all, doesn't give you a lot of confidence. A top 50 pick, a high second round pick on him. Like, those guys have to be starters at those draft positions, and you let guys walk because you drafted and developed other guys to plug in. So it's a big year for those two guys to actually show up and show out and fill those positions. And then the 49ers will absolutely be rolling there and still have, you know, they have an extra comp pick now to draft another sixth rounder like they found in DJ Jones, right? So
I think most people believe that the guard position is one that is a little bit more plug and play. So, okay, it's like if somebody's willing to pay Laken Tomlinson $14 million, then I think, you know what, 49ers, you did good. You traded, what, a fifth round pick for him. You got multiple years out of him. You got a Pro Bowl out of him, and you're going to get a comp pick back for him. So I bet the comp pick is going to be better than the pick you traded to get him. So, okay, you let him walk for $14 million. Now, we don't think that Aaron Banks is just ready plug and play, at least from our analysis on him coming out of college. But, hey, maybe he slimmed down. Maybe he understands more of what it takes to play at the NFL level. Maybe he improves. Even if he isn't great, we have seen that you can get by with average to below average guards. If we're not been playing with Brunskill for the past couple years, had to play with guys like Ben Garland. That's not ideal, but even then, the offensive line has graded out fairly well. So I don't mind it, even though, yeah, Laken Tomlinson is a good football player, really good. Iron Man hasn't missed a game since he got with the 49ers.
Yeah. Just dependable. And that's what you worry about right now, because you don't have that safety net. There's nothing dependable about Aaron Banks right now. And so a lot of question marks on the 49ers offensive line going into 2022. And there's going to be some more addition and competition there on that line coming very soon, probably, if not in the next couple of days, then at least in April, at the end of April in the draft. So, and we kind of joked about Oren Burks at the beginning of the pod, but actually I like this signing. 2 years, $5 million, so $2.5 million per year for linebacker Oren Burks from the Packers, who's a special teams demon. That's why the 49ers brought him in, and he does kind of fit as a backup linebacker as well for the profile that the 49ers like at linebacker. Former safety, really athletic, maybe undersized, sort of a linebacker. So fits right in, backup linebacker and a special teams player. Comp picks. Niners got some picks, and they didn't even have to trade Jimmy Garoppolo to get him. The 49ers have added, as expected, a handful of extra compensatory selections. They've got their original second rounder and third rounder already. Those are at picks 61 and 93. But the 49ers have added 2 comp picks at 102 and 105. And that is for the coach and GM that they lost last year. And they're going to have more comp picks coming next year for Mike McDaniel as well. And Mayhew and Saleh and all that combination of losses with their coaching staffs. But pick 102 and 105 comp picks at the end of the third round. 105 is the last pick in the third round now. But it's still unclear whether or not the 49ers are going to give up 102 or give up number 105, because one of those picks is due to go to the Miami Dolphins in the trade up for Trey Lance last year. So they still only will keep one of those comp picks. They also got 2, and this is where the 49ers actually got better picks projected. The 49ers were projected to get 3 7th-round comp picks, and they actually ended up getting 2 6th and 1 7th. So right now, the 49ers have 2 6th-round picks that are picks 221 and 222 at the end of round 6. And they have the very last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant this year. 49er, pick number 263 overall. I think we'll have to have a contest here for the listeners to try to pick who's going to be Mr. Irrelevant at pick number 263 for the 49ers to end the 2022 draft. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So the Niners do have some extra picks to work with. Who knows? Maybe they'll add a 4th day 2 pick into this mix if they trade away Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's going to be fun. A lot of picks for the 49ers to work with. And of course, we will continue to cover all the free agency and the draft and who the 49ers should be utilizing those picks on, all 9 of their draft picks that they will have right now. And I think there's going to be more coming, maybe. Wink, any prediction? I told Croc, I'm still confident. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get traded before the new league year begins Wednesday. If not, it's going to be soon after. I think it's going to actually happen. Wink, are you as confident? I'm less confident today than I was yesterday, and I was less confident yesterday than I was the day before that. So that's the direction this thing is going. Or do you feel like John Lynch has overplayed his hand in all this?
I think I'm still very confident he's going to get traded. I just think that his value has really dropped a lot when you see all these guys, the Trubisky. I mean, Tyrod Taylor signed a pretty big contract today. Like, there's a lot of guys out there that are signing deals and that's filling voids that we thought were perfect spots for Jimmy Garoppolo to get traded to. So hopefully, Lynch has something brewing with the Colts. Hopefully there's something going on there. If not, I'd hate to see him get cut and get nothing back for him, but it might be the only play the 49ers have, unfortunately.
And it sounds like, listening to Benjamin Solak, or at least looking at some of the things that he quoted on here on 95.7 The Game, the market, and I mean, I said Benjamin Solak, my bad. Benjamin Albright. Excuse me. Benjamin Albright covers the Denver Broncos, but he does fairly well having his ear to the ground and being able to relay pretty accurate information, at least from what I've seen. All right, so the market on Jimmy Garoppolo has cratered. Albright said Tuesday on 95.7 The Game. I don't think the Colts are in on him at all. I think it's going to be Mariota. I think the shoulder thing is just adding salt to the wound, and it's just a bad situation. The Niners were hoping to get a pair of 2s. 49ers kind of miscalculating the situation for him. And at this point, they'd be lucky to get a day 3 pick for him.
Better than nothing, right? Better than letting him walk for free.
Better than 0. Yeah, and some people thought he was going to get cut. And look, there's a big gap between 2 seconds and getting cut. Is that now a 4th-round pick that the Niners can get for him, a 5th-round pick that the Niners can get for him? But that is a huge miscalculation if somebody offered a 2nd-round pick, as has been rumored, and John Lynch denied it, which Croc and I are both sort of shocked about, because I think we're of the same mindset. It was like, yeah, you get that 2nd-round pick, you take it, and you shake Jimmy's hand, you say congratulations, and go to the AFC Championship game with the Colts or whatever, and maybe we'll see you in the Super Bowl. Like, that's and who knows? But maybe there's a genius to it all. And this is the last quick story. We've only got a minute to cover this, and I don't think there's really anything to it. But there was the report from Jason Schultz, or Jordan Schultz. I don't know. Somebody I think I might have to unfollow, because I don't know how good his reports are. But maybe he's somewhat accurate. Although, you know what? Is he the one that had the Charvarius Ward report? So maybe he is on to something. Maybe
1 for 2.
Close to the Niners, too. But he reported that Deshaun Watson was going to meet with the San Francisco 49ers, which just seems bonkers and completely bizarre. And maybe we'll have more clarity to talk about this more on tomorrow's show. But real quick, guys, like, look, obviously that doesn't make much sense anymore. It made sense last year, and who knows, Watson might have been a 49er if his whole off-field stuff didn't happen last year. And those picks that they traded to get up to get Lance might have been to Houston to get Watson. That's definitely a possibility. And now I don't doubt that maybe Watson likes the 49ers and there's a connection there, but that doesn't mean the 49ers are actually entertaining this. But
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and that, like, every NFL writer in the world debunked that within like 10 minutes. So I think the 49ers got out in front of that story quick and was like, nope, that is not happening. But then there was another story that's like, despite those reports, I'm here, and I don't remember who it was now. I think it was a local radio.
So someone from the Bay Area, yeah.
Yeah, it was 95.7, Jason Dumas, I think it was. And he said that despite all those reports, I'm still hearing that maybe there is a connection there. And I still find it like, did he reach out to the Niners? It's like, if someone calls you and you answer the phone, you're like, hello. You're like, hey, I'm interested. You're like, I'm not. And you close it. Like, you met, like, you had a conversation. Like, is that the story? Like, I don't know what this is. But there's the idea out there. I want to throw this by you guys real quick. Wink, you first. Is this, not only is John Lynch not overplaying his hand, is he masterminding this other stuff to where he's going to try to mess with all the teams that are shopping for Watson and in turn get more value for Jimmy Garoppolo out?
Now, I think you're giving Lynch a lot of credit. I hope you're right. That'd be fantastic
It's
on his
not
part.
me. That wasn't mine. That is what I'm reading out there from some folks, because people are just getting weird right now out there. All we needed was another story with Deshaun Watson and the 49ers just to take this to another level of weirdness right now with what's going on this offseason with the Niners.
Dude, how? That's what I would ask.
Yeah, right.
How are the 49ers going to do it? One, they don't have the draft capital. And what these other teams are capable or willing to offer for Deshaun Watson, 49ers can't match that. So that's that standpoint. Now, also, let's say, hypothetically speaking, the 49ers, this is true, and the 49ers are going to make a push for Deshaun Watson. What would it take? All right, it would take one, Trey Lance, who you already used 3 first-round picks for, including 2 future first-round picks that you don't have, and a third-round pick that you lose this year. So you already used all that capital. So there's 3 first-rounders right there. It would take, but the other team, Texans, are like, well, we can't get those first-round picks. We can only get the player. So we don't care that you spent that much on that guy. We still need everything. We need everything you can give us. So it would take Trey Lance, probably Brandon Ayuk, who is under contract. He has a 5th-year option. All right. It would take probably an elite player like either a Fred Warner or a Nick Bosa. And it would take 2 first-round picks, probably a second round. It would probably take a second round this year, a second round next year, and maybe another third. I mean, you would have to give up so much to make that happen. And it would leave the 49ers kind of depleted. And you'd have to take on Deshaun Watson's massive contract that's kicking in now. I mean, and that part. I don't see how John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan looked at each other and said, you know what? We can make this work, regardless of all the picks that we're throwing away and all the elite players we have to give up and all the. I don't see it, but if the 49ers can make it work, awesome. Deshaun Watson's a great football player.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And the worst part is the baggage. And also the other worst part is, even if they're actually serious about it and they're not just trying to screw up the market and mess with things, that means that they have reservations about Trey Lance. And that's probably the worst sign of the whole thing, if they actually were interested, because you would rather have rookie contract Trey Lance if you think he's going to be great than Deshaun Watson, if you think he's going to get there. But if you have reservations about it, then you might want to go down that other road. And so that's probably a bad sign if it is true, but I'm not buying that it's true at all. And as John in SoCal said, next level for Lynch to trade for Watson to pump up the Jimmy market, then flip Watson to another team to do this while unloading Russell Westbrook's contract and getting below the luxury tax threshold to sign a designated hitter is unreal. So, yeah,
nice.
Well put. We're in fantasy land right now, John in SoCal.
Well said.
Oh, fun stuff. Wink, thanks for joining us here on Live once again.
My pleasure.
Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen. For your second listen, check out Croc co-hosting Locked On NFL Draft Daily right here on the network. I'm doing the Peacock and Williamson NFL show, breaking down all these signings, all the rumors, everything going on in the league every day. Croc and I back tomorrow. right here. Locked On 49ers.
See you.